today. It is Wednesday. I know we're mixing things up. It is February 20th. It's hard to believe how quickly this month is flying by, but it is flying by. And I am so thrilled about my guest today on Teal Talk. I'm Jenny Guy, the marketing manager for Mediavine, full service ad management for content creators. And I am here with Brandy Riley of Mama Knows It All and the founder of the incredible Facebook group Courage to Earn. Brandy, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for asking me here. I'm thrilled to be here.
I'm excited to talk to you. We're going to talk about a lot of different things, but we're kind of going to focus somewhat on forming the Facebook group and how that happens and finding your tribe, which you're a huge expert in. So first of all, I would have you introduce yourself because I know that you know you better than I know you. So if you'll talk a little bit about your two brands and how they kind of connect and your journey to getting here.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Brandy Riley. I started this journey of blogging as Brandy Jeter. I was a single mom. It was the night before my daughter's first birthday when I started my blog, Mama Knows It All. And it was really just a place to put memories until I realized that I could make money from it, which I learned pretty quickly, which was awesome. Mm-hmm. And I really shifted my focus into creating content that could get me an audience that could help me to earn income. Within a year and a half, I had transitioned out of my career as a longtime nonprofit professional. So I wrote curriculum for educational programs. I did trainings for teachers and folks who worked with young folks. And I really enjoyed that work. But with all of the shifts and the changes in the digital atmosphere at that time, it was really exciting and I wanted to be a part of it. So I started working for a shopper marketing agency, first as a freelancer, then a part-time kind of contractor, and then full-time, and worked my way up to a manager position. From there, I continued to do my blog because it's my thing and it makes me money. And I really like making money. And so I transitioned out of that. And that's when Courage to Earn started. So Courage to Earn started when I was leaving my role at the shopper marketing agency. I wanted to talk to people and tell them exactly how I had my biggest month. And at the time, my biggest month was booking $6,000 worth of work. So I did a webinar. I charged $50. It was sold out. 100 people sold out. And I told them step by step how I got every opportunity, how the relationship started with the folks who had hired me, what the work entailed, everything. And I was calling it Blog Money Confidential. So I decided, let's have a Blog Money Confidential challenge for the new year. And I kept the community kind of warm until that January when we really kicked off. Sadly, in December, my stepmother passed away of cancer. She was diagnosed a few months before and passed away. And she raised me. She was the woman who taught me everything that I know just about being a woman. And the biggest regret that I had for her life, because she did so many things and touched so many people's lives. And she and I weren't always seeing eye to eye because I was a teenager and I was a middle schooler at some point. So we didn't. Not like our relationship was perfect, but I did see that she made sacrifices for myself and for my sister and for our family. And one of the biggest sacrifices that she made was her dream of being a seamstress. She was super creative, super talented. And we would tell her, my sister and I would tell her, why don't you do this for a business? You can make way more than you're making working in insurance, like insurance customer service. And she just didn't have that inner confidence that was telling her that it's okay to do this and you can do this and it's okay to go out on your own. And so when she passed away, she left my sister and I things, but she really didn't live as much as she could have had she had that confidence and people around her telling her that it's okay to leap and it's okay to be courageous and it's okay to ask for what you're worth. Because she would sew things for people for free all the time. And so I changed the name of the group to Courage to Earn because I saw that in a lot of the people in the community, that we have so much passion and so much talent, and we will give it away just because we care so much about women or moms or kids or whoever it is our audience is. But we deserve to be paid. We deserve to be able to make ends meet and to feed our family if we're doing work and we're giving to other people. So that's where Courage to Earn came from.
Girl, yes. Everything that you just said, I love it. I'm What an inspirational way to turn in something that could be, and I'm sure was very painful, into something that is transforming so many lives. And I believe she sees what you're doing, and she's now going, because she's getting to see that amazing turnaround that came from that inspiration that she gave you. What an incredible story.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay,
well, we've got a lot of people saying hi. Michelle D. Johnson Garrett says, hey, everyone. Maria Lane says, hello. Let's see, Tanae Michelle says, hey, ladies. Lisa Baranek says hi. So we've got all sorts of people saying hi to everybody. Hey, everybody. We're so glad you're here. Okay, well, if you have questions for Marie, I've got some questions, but as always, we're here for you. So if you want to chime in, please do. We've got lots of stuff to go over. So you talked a little bit about being a single mom. You are a mom, obviously. You have another job. There's a lot going on in your life. So can you talk to me a little bit about all those plates you have spinning and how you keep them spinning?
Yeah. So I was a single mom when I started. It was just my daughter and me. And when my daughter was 17 months old, I met my husband, and he just changed our lives. I moved from Philadelphia to California. A year after moving, a year almost to the day, we were married. So 6 months later, we were engaged. A year almost to the day, we were married. The next year, my husband adopted our daughter. And 2 years after that, we had our little boy. So now I'm the mom of two, wife of one. I have a full-time job. I work at Bark, which is an app that keeps kids safe online. It's an amazing app. And I love the work that I do there. I also have, my blog, Mama Knows It All. I have Courage to Earn. I have accountability group, Courage to Earn More. I have 2 masterminds, Courage to Earn Lift and Courage to Earn Rise. And a partridge, a pear tree. No, that's pretty much it. And
or pygmy goats. My arc.
Else, the mom stuff, the Girl Scout mom and the volleyball coach and teach at children's church and things like that. But, I still get to bed every night at 10 o'clock, y'all. I still have a lot of free time and time for myself and to watch my beloved reality shows and to read books and things like that. So it took me a while to figure out how to balance. But the biggest thing is really prioritizing and realizing that every day, everything cannot have the same amount of importance. So every day is not stress out about Courage to Earn Day. Every day is not stress out about my job day, even though I work every day. Some days are lighter than others. And I've learned to really discern which days I'm going to really need to focus in on work and not do anything. So Mondays, I don't have coaching calls. I also do coaching. Mondays, I don't do coaching calls because those are a busy day for me. It's a busy day at my full-time job. It's a busy day just online because people are back from the weekend and ready to get to work. So I really learned how to figure out where I need to do what. And that has saved me. It really has. And then I have a hard stop for when I'm done working every single day. I have a hard stop for on what days I work. So Saturdays, I rarely do anything. Sunday evenings, I get back online because I feel really excited about the new week. But during the day on Sundays, you really won't see me. And I don't feel the need to be everywhere. So, because being online is my job, I don't necessarily have to get all of my social engagement from online. And I've had to learn to teach my friends that, just because you put something on Facebook doesn't mean I see it, unless it's work related and you tag me. Right. Otherwise, let's pick up the phone and talk because that's important to me. So yeah, learning how to balance that has taken me, I would say 5 years, but I'm finally at a point where I can say I'm not overworked. I don't feel stressed. I feel chill. I feel excited every day to wake up and get to do work that I love. So I don't know a lot of people that can be able to say that, but I want a lot of people to be able to say that.
Yes, I want a lot of people. I mean, as Tanae just said, goals. I completely agree. And Michelle said, woo, I agree with that as well. There was a lot of things happening there. And you are keeping those plates spinning. And I love that you said that you're cherishing that interaction that is offline, that's away from the computer, because I make my living on the computer too. And it's so easy to that's just your whole world. And you don't interact with humans beyond that because you get fatigued, I think, for sure.
Oh, yeah. And Jenny, I can tell you, last year was really the turning point for me. I got kind of lazy I had been pregnant, and then I had my son who was an infant at the time. And, I just got lazy. And I had some friends from high school call me out. My best friends call me out like, listen, we are here. We're not inside your computer. You need to be here for us. We want to be there for you. We need to know what's going on with you. And that flipped the switch. Because I think that we all start off like that. Everybody kind of comes on the internet like, I'm not really an internet person. This is weird. And then we quickly get into the pace of like always online, always commenting, always liking or hearting. And if it's not in front of us on our phone or on a computer, it doesn't matter. So I'm grateful for my friends for pulling me back, which actually helped me to focus in my business a lot more, because I'm not doing a whole lot of, so I'm doing some social stuff because I do have some awesome friends inside of the computer, sure. But I'm not doing nearly as much as I was. And I'm taking a lot of those friendships offline so that they can be deeper and more meaningful.
What I love that some of my online friends have become great offline friends. They've become people that are, and it's a different kind of community where I think that you can kind of like, you can get a certain kind of fulfillment from the people online, but you can get a different kind of an important fulfillment from people offline. And it's important to see both.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Michelle Brosius said, yes, connecting with real people offline is so important. Tina Stevens Brown said she needs to practice the hard stop. Girl, we all do.
Yeah.
Marie Elaine said, one big thing I've learned from you, Brandy, is that I don't need to share all of the things on social media when they happen. Hold on to some of them until the timing is better and I can tag the right company or figure out how it relates to something in current events. Just being smart and strategic. No need to share all the things all the time in the exact moment.
Yes, I love that you got that, Marie. I say that all the time. And it's hard because I see so many people doing in real time stuff really well. But I think we forget that that's a huge skill, and just like being an engineer or a doctor, everybody doesn't have that skill. That's definitely not my skill. If I'm doing something in real time, then the people who are around me are definitely feeling they're feeling me not being present, and if I am being present, then my social media is lacking. And so again, with the balance, it's just like, on times when I have a babysitter or when I'm in the bed just chilling and my husband's watching TV, I can talk about my trip to Hawaii last year, which I still haven't posted about. I still haven't posted about San Diego. I had all this stuff I wanted to share. And that was before my son was born because I wanted to be in the moment,
Yeah, of course. And I think that that's an important thing because we all get so absorbed in it and we feel like we have to be continuously checking and we're going to miss something. Like that FOMO is a real thing. And however, I know that me personally, I've been under many circumstances where I've felt that I'm not the full attention or even 50% of the attention of the people in the room.
Right.
And nobody loves that feeling. Nobody loves going, I'm here. I'm actually in the room.
Right.
So maybe can we talk? So but it's easy to get sucked into that trap for sure. And I love that you strategize ways because people feel like, well, but this perfect thing happened and I have to do it now. I love that you strategize a way that no, but you don't have to do it right now. It doesn't have to, it's your time, it's your life, Yep,
exactly.
So tell me a little bit more about how you got your start. I know you mentioned that you were a single mom and it was the night before your daughter's first birthday. Tell me a little bit more about how you got your start in blogging and how you built that brand, where that came from.
Yeah. So, I've always been a writer. I always thought that I would be like a journalist or something like that until I went to college and discovered theater. So I majored in speech and theater and I did shows and I was writing plays and teaching playwriting a lot in Philadelphia for nearly.
I knew that I loved you. I have an MFA in acting. I knew that there was a. Yes,
okay, so we need to start a digital entrepreneurs theater troupe.
I would love that. That would be amazing. Let's do it.
Yes. And we travel to different conferences doing plays and stuff. That would actually be okay. So we need to talk about that.
Let's do that. Yes, I love it. We could do some improv to warm a room up and things like that.
Would be really fun.
Yeah, totally agreed.
And I thought I would do that. I thought I would do that forever. And I did an apprenticeship in Philadelphia. That's how I got from North Carolina, is where I grew up and where I went to college, to Philadelphia. I did an apprenticeship. And as part of our apprenticeship, we understudied main stage shows, but we also did our own shows going to different theaters, going to different schools, performing for schools. And,
nice.
and it was awesome because we did workshops and we worked with the students, and it was really cool. And I got my first taste of teaching, and I realized that I love acting and performing and being on the stage, but even more than that, I like the interaction and the engagement and the way that art can make people feel. So I transitioned into teaching, and that's where I went into nonprofit. So writing curriculum that was art-based, focused on science and things like that. Teaching playwriting to students all across Philadelphia, writing and producing my own plays. So I've always been a writer. So and I always imagined that I would write for newspapers or magazines, but that was before the internet, you know? And so when the internet came up and I could write my own blog, I could create my own blog. That's what I did. And I did it for free on Blogger, and it was really awesome. I think the biggest lesson for me from that point was that was kind of like the first seeds of Courage to Earn. It's like, I am a writer. And I remember someone saying to me, writers write. And I was like, yeah, I don't have to wait to get hired by a newspaper or a magazine or anything like that to be a writer. And at that time, I was trying to transition into doing curriculum writing, like for the school district or something like that. And things weren't working out, probably because that wasn't the route I was supposed to take. And they said, writers write. And I was like, you know what? You're right. And that's when I started the blog. And from there, it's just been, I went to a blogging conference. It was Bloggy Boot Camp. Back in the day, it was run by what's now Massive Sway. Like I said, I was a single mom. I didn't even have the money. I borrowed the money from my brother to go. And there I networked and was able to meet people who got me into the shopper marketing agency that I eventually ended up working for. So it was just being really intentional about what my goals were for my blog 3 or 4 or 5 months in. With the blog, I also was doing work with what was iVillage back in the day, that's owned by NBC now, but doesn't really exist anymore. But I got to work with Kelly Wallace, who's an amazing journalist from CNN and all over the place. And she was in charge of us doing these videos where we were just moms talking about our lives, diverse moms, and I would go into the city and to Kelly's apartment or to the studio and do videos, and it was really amazing. And it just opened up a new world to me. And I always say, I met my husband in Indianapolis in the hotel, the lobby of a hotel where I was at for a conference for my nonprofit job. But I would have never been in the lobby because I had my own hotel room. It was the first time since my daughter had been born that I had been alone. It was a nice hotel room. I would have never been in the lobby if not for working on my blog. So I was in the lobby, he saw me, and that was all she wrote.
Awesome. That's awesome. I love that. Okay, we've got Michelle Garrett said we need friends like that to remind us when we need to regroup and refocus. Absolutely. Kelly Pugliano says, hey, Kelly, I think your hustle shift idea is brilliant. It keeps me super focused. I think Tina Stevens Brown is in for our theater idea. That might be it. She just says, I love it, I'm in, but it could be it could be all of the things that you said. And then Marie Elaine said, iVillage. Oh my gosh.
Yes,
sounds like another iVillage person.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we've got a little bit going about Mama Knows It All and how you started out in that way. Tell me a little bit how that transitioned into Courage to Earn, and you told me about the start from your stepmother, and that story. But how did it evolve from? Because it's crazy. I mean, it's a crazy, successful, amazing thing that has helped so many people. So I would love to hear that evolution story.
Yeah. So, it was interesting the way that it started as a monthly challenge. It was just going to be a 1-month challenge. And I gave challenge things to do every single week. And by the end of the month, people were like, don't close the group. So I kept the group up, and I really just listened to what people wanted. I listened to what questions they were asking, the different questions I was seeing online that influencers were asking about how to succeed in the industry. And I was there to serve them. And that's the biggest foundation of that community, Courage to Earn, is I am here to serve the people who are in the group. I want them to leave feeling like their questions were answered and feeling like they understand what's happening in this industry. I want them to feel like they have a support system or like they can share good news. And So that's what it's been from the beginning. Early on, Michelle Garrett Johnson, who's watching, I don't know how she's just so amazing. And she was always very, very involved from the very beginning. And so I asked her to come on again, intentionally, because I wanted to be able to serve the audience. And I know that she has she has a heart for women entrepreneurs and had been working with women in business for many, many years, and had the same kind of tough love, but real love for women that I had. So I asked her to come on board as a community director, to be in charge of like setting up consistency and structure, because that's not my gift. Structure is not my gift. I'm like, oh, I have an idea. Toss it out. Michelle's like, hold up, wait, we got to talk about this.
I have a plan.
Yes.
And exactly. It is a calendar.
Exactly. And with her help and with her support, we've been able to create really a community that people can come into and they know what to expect. You know, they know what kind of responses they're going to get. And I don't mean that they're going to get the same type of, like, everybody doesn't think the same. We definitely have had some discussions where we see, you know, where people are feel really strongly about both sides of the coins. But we like to think of ourselves as a safe place where people can have those discussions and we can hash things out, and we don't all have to think the same. But the core of the group is about earning money. You know, so, you know, we are very, very firm on that. So when people come in and they're, you know, if they want to disparage folks who are asking to be paid, then, you know, we kind of counsel them and coach them about what it means to be a courageous earner. And also we see that for years, you know, women just get put down. They get shamed for wanting to be paid. And that's just something that's not going to happen in Courage to Earn. So we just know that people can come in and say, I don't feel good about getting paid this, or I actually feel good about getting paid this rate, even though it's not what my normal rate is. So we really just want folks to know that you can get paid whatever you want as long as you're okay with it. But we want to make sure you know what you deserve to earn.
I love that. And you're so right that there's so much that I think that women just give away and have given away historically. And I love that there's a huge group. And so tell me exactly how huge it is today. How many?
We have 50, I think it's 5,600 people in the group.
It's insane.
It's insane. Yeah. And it's, you know, there are some groups out there I know that are much bigger, but we are very, we're a little bit selective. You know, we want to make sure that people are in the groups for the right reason. You know, we have never been a group where you can come in, you just drop links and you roll out, you know, you drop your thing that you're selling and you leave. We really want people to engage and interact with each other and connect. And although we do have, just like any group, we do have a lot of lurkers, for the most part, people are engaged. Like, they will come out from the woodworks, you know, when certain conversations happen. And I love seeing people who haven't commented before jump into a conversation, because then you learn what's important to people.
I love seeing the celebrations that happen in that group. I'm a proud member of Courage to Earn, and I love seeing the way that people get lifted up, and there's a question and someone asks, and there's, even if it's not a question that sparks 75 responses, there's always at least 3 or 4 that are helpful, good, at least, like, I understand what you're going through. I may not have the answer, but at least I know what you're talking about and I'm here on the same page as you. So that, I think the camaraderie in that group is I think unique to that. Yeah. And I don't know, I mean, how did you foster that? And were you, because I see you pop up at least, you know, once a day, once every few days, but how did you foster that from the beginning?
From the beginning, it was really about knowing what my intentions for the group was and sticking to that. You know, so the purpose of the group is to help women learn how to earn income, but it's also about being transparent and honest. It's also about being real. It's also about empowering women and giving them the tools to actually go out and do the thing that we're encouraging them to do. So whenever something comes in that doesn't fit into you know, the mission or the philosophy of the group, then, you know, I'm really big on just deleting something. You know, we delete it. We will, you know, talk to people and say it's not a good fit, you know, but we are very, Michelle myself, and then Amira asked Amira Martin also to come on as an admin as the group grew, because we want to make sure that there are eyes, even if we're not commenting, that we can go through and we can just really make sure the group stays positive and upbeat and uplifting by, just making sure that it's managed. That's the biggest thing, making sure that it's managed and that folks are getting their needs met.
Love it. Okay, Tina Stevens Brown, we're circling back around to her. Yeah, she said, nope, it was all about theater. I lived on the stage when I was younger. Nice. And I was going to say, Brandy, what you're talking about with the intentions, I used to teach acting and have taught acting and directed and stuff like that. That's so textbook acting, what you're talking about, being so clear about your intentions and your actions, what you want, and starting out in that way and then pursuing what you want with the other person in mind. I mean, I love it. I love it. I think it's great.
It definitely is a theater thing.
And when all the theater people, and when people are out there feeling like I got a degree in art history or I got a degree in theater and all those things, and they don't have skills, you got skills. You got lots of skills. Yeah. Don't worry about it.
And especially when you're in a group as big as Courage to Earn or Mediavine, when you're dealing with different people, to be able to read people, especially online, and to infer what folks are meaning as opposed to what it might look like they mean. It's a great skill to have as a community leader.
Completely agree. Okay, we've got some happy comments. We've got Nicole Johnson saying, yay, hey, Brandy. Kenya Hampton says, hey, Brandy. Jacinia says, hey, Brandy. Hey. And then Jacinia also says, I love how positive and encouraging the Courage to Earn group is. I completely agree.
That makes me happy.
So how long has Courage to Earn been a thing?
It has been 4 years. It was 4 years in January. So 4 years.
So about 4 years. So tell me a little bit about kind of the trajectory of the growth. Did it start out, you said like it was a mastermind. Did you start it with roughly 50 or something like that?
Yeah, there were maybe 150 people in the group. And, the lifestyle / mom blogging community is kind of insular, so people would bring their friends. And once they saw that questions were actually being answered, not just in this kind of surface way, but going in depth. And at the time I started out, and so this is kind of I don't know that this is a trick, but back in the day, 4 years ago, this was kind of the thing, people would
back in the day on Facebook.
Back in the day. Ancient times, people would do their income reports a lot. And so I didn't do them in the group per se, but I would do it for the newsletter for the group. I would do my income report. This is what I made. This is how I made them. So that was another perk of being in the group, because people were still unclear, even though folks have been blogging for years at that point. Lifestyle bloggers have been a thing and influencer marketing had been a thing. There were so many people who were still unclear on how to make money blogging. So because they knew they could come to the community and it would be spelled out to them and, like, oh, you're working with this company or you're going on this trip. How does that happen? Well, I was telling how it happened, or I was pulling people for whom it was happening and asking them to tell how did it happen, like really. And what it did is, it pulled back the curtain and it gave people either goals, and actual tangible steps that they could take to be able to reach those goals, or it helped them to redirect their focus instead of focusing on, oh, I want this thing. Then they got the truth about this thing. They realized, wait, I don't want that thing. So let me focus over here. And it just, I'm going to just toot my horn. I feel like it changed our community. It was the beginning of that transparent, like, this is how you can do it, especially from women. Men have been doing it. They have been doing it by affiliate marketing online. They had been doing it by teaching about affiliate marketing for the most part online. But as lifestyle influencers, there was this many people making a livable wage. And now there's like this many people, and people are sharing openly. This is what I did to share my page views. One person, Trisha Haas, she is one of the most open. She used to have the blog Mom Dot, but now she has community called MD, and she has other blogs that she does. She is one of the most open, most transparent women on the internet. Rachel Miller from Moolah Marketer, the Facebook growth group. She's another one of the women who just is sharing and giving information out openly. And before me, those three, Michelle Amir, like we would be the only ones. But now people are seeing that, okay, let's give more information because there's enough for all of us out here. And the more women we help to climb to the top, the more chances that when we get to the top, we have friends up there to party with.
I like that. Let's have a party at the top. Let's get up to the top and have a party. I love that. Tina Stevens Brown says, I still have so much to learn.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. And the cool part I think about right now is that things are always changing. We are changing from when I first started back in 2010 is when I started Mama Knows It All. You know, May 2019, my blog will be 9 years old. And we have gone through several iterations of what it means to be a blogger or a digital influencer. And so as long as you're open to learning and you're in these places where people are keeping up with the trends and they're making sense of what's going on out there, you'll be fine. But you just got to be fast because by the time you learn something, folks are on to the next thing.
Very, very true. And speaking of that, in terms of Facebook, a lot of people have said because of the algorithm and the shift, and so many people, so many bloggers, so many influencers lost their audiences overnight when they shifted the algorithm the first time they did the big shift. And now I feel like, and I do social media for us, I feel like that's been a continuous shift and it's always tweaking somewhat. But the groups, and even Facebook themselves have said the groups are a way to have your audience and have that. So how you are very forward thinking in that way. Do you still see that as a way to keep kind of tabs on the algorithm, that keep control of something in that way?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely feel like the groups are more stable than the pages. I would recommend that anybody with a group get everybody in that group on a newsletter because Facebook is changing. They care about groups, but they care more about ads. You know, so if you have someone with a group who is paying more ads than you and they're, you know, using ads to grow their group and things like that, and they decide that, you know, your group is infringing on what they're doing and they report your group, or they have people come in, and this is a real thing and it sucks that it happens, but they have people report, your group can be taken away in an instance. Like it's still not a community that you own, you know, which is why I started Courage to Earn More, which is also on Facebook, but we have a Teachable, we're on the Teachable platform. So I can always access folks. I can always, you know, put videos up there and share. We're doing a lot more Zoom stuff, a lot more Be Live, just so that we can use the videos in other places. And I can have the content that's not on Facebook so that I'm not at their mercy for all things.
Mm-hmm. And you truly are at your mercy. And do you keep Mama Knows It All and Courage to Earn pretty separate, or is that a funnel back and forth that exists, or how does that work?
Yeah, I keep it separate. One of the things last year that I finally clicked with is that Mama Knows It All, what I'm doing for the women in Courage to Earn, I can still do for the women on Mama Knows It All. It's just changing the language a little bit, but I'm not trying to get the Mama Knows It All audience into Courage to Earn. So it's really two different brands and two different communities, and I serve them differently. You know, so a lot of the women on Mama Knows It All, they want to be encouraged. You know, they just need a little bit of something to keep them going. They have where they are, you know, they're not trying to start businesses or be digital entrepreneurs. Where they are is fine. They just need like a little bit of fuel to keep going. And so I can use some of the same stuff that I use in Courage to Earn for them. But for the most part, Courage to Earn, they don't need to be encouraged. They need that maybe once a month. You know, they're there with boots on the ground, ready to march. They want to know, how do I do this? When do I do this? What do I do? Period. And sometimes the encouraging comes in, you know, just kind of pulling out insecurities and saying, I know this is why you're not doing this. You know how to do this because I told you. I know this is why you're not doing this. Let's figure out why so that we can move forward.
That's excellent. So how did you grow your group to this size? Did you do ads? Was it word of mouth? Tell me everything.
Yes. So the biggest part of growing my Facebook group was word of mouth. That has been the best way for folks to find the group. I've done some ads from the Facebook page. So we do have a Courage to Earn Facebook page. I had done some ads from the Facebook page to different videos on the page that are teaching, and then inviting people into the group. Every video that I do on the Courage to Earn page, I invite people to join the Facebook group. So I think there's maybe 50 or 60 videos up there now. Every single one begins and ends with, "We would love for you to join us." I was doing it at first on Periscope, because when I first opened the group, Facebook Live didn't even exist. So I was doing it on Periscope, which is Twitter's live streaming service. And from Periscope probably came half of the people that are there. So at least like 2,500 people came from Periscope, which if you're just starting a group, or even if you have a group and you want to build it, Periscope, because you can stream onto Twitter and you can use hashtags, and people are actually using those hashtags to find content, it's a great way to find new people who are actually interested in your group.
Yeah, absolutely. So how often are you producing content for the Courage to Earn group? What percentage of your time are you breaking up? Because I know a lot of it is management, and then you have Michelle and Amira who are both also managing, but then you're creating things, you're using prompts, is all that coming from you?
Yes, yeah, it comes from me. So Michelle, Amira, and I have, and then also I have Lynn Wiltsey. So Lynn is another, she's my admin for Courage to Earn More, but she's just amazing. So she keeps her eyes open for what's happening in Courage to Earn, because a lot of it is cross-posted. So Courage to Earn More is our paid group. So it's much smaller. There's only about 100 people in there. And then I have some experts, friends of mine who have had success in different areas, who are also in the group. And so it's a place where folks feel a little more safe sharing specifics about different things that they're working on. And they can get a lot closer to me and Michelle and Amira. So they really love that. But one thing that has helped a lot with managing the group and creating content is that structure. So I used to go live. I used to post these Opus notes, and I used to, have these challenges and all that. I used to just throw it out as it came to me. But Michelle was just like, it will be a lot more impactful if you can just figure out what your goal is. So every month I like to have a theme. And so even if I don't share it with the group, I have a theme in my head. This is what we're focusing on. This is what has been a challenge for folks in the group last month. So this month we're going to focus on that. So I probably spend, out of 100% of my time, I probably spend 30% of the time creating content either for Courage to Earn or Courage to Earn More.
Okay, great. Great. And you still rely on videos, and you still rely on all the different forms of asking open-ended questions and posting notes and all that. You just Michelle established a structure for you so that your group, we know what to expect as it comes out.
Exactly. And, one thing that I had to realize too, is that I was putting some really good stuff in newsletters, and then I would copy and paste it into the group. And I stopped doing that for the most part. Instead, I have really great stuff inside of the newsletters, and that's hard. That's the hardest part, because you don't know, like, what do I share with the public facing Courage to Earn community? What do I share in the group? What do I share with More? What do I share in the newsletter? But just like I was talking about with all of my work, it's about prioritizing, so the folks who are in the big Courage to Earn group, I know that they are not expecting really detailed and minute information about a situation or a problem. I can share that with the Courage to Earn More group. And then I know that that there's information that both of them will need and appreciate. That's what I put in the newsletter. But they have to have some context about what's been happening in the group. That goes in the newsletter. And then kind of big picture ideas always go out on the public facing group. So it's really about sitting down and strategizing, okay, what is it that I want to say? What is it that I'm going to share? And who am I serving? And how can I best serve the best people with this information? And
you expanded even beyond that, because I know that personally, because you've started doing in-person meetups for Courage to Earn as well. So what made you cross that line, and how have you seen that evolve and change the structure of the group?
Yeah, so people were asking for like a conference, a Courage to Earn conference. And the thought of that was just so overwhelming to me because working, so I forgot to mention, after Shopper Marketing Agency, I worked for a big publication that also had a huge blogger conference. So I know what it takes to put on an actual conference, and it's a lot of work. You know, you need
it's a situation.
It's a lot of money. And I knew that that really wasn't my strength, and it wasn't something that I was interested in putting as much energy into it.
Sure.
So I wanted to do a retreat. And again, with Amira and Michelle, I was overthinking it, you know, thinking, oh, it has to be this big thing. And there's so many people who want to come. And they said, well, what would it look like if you did it? And I'm an introvert, believe it or not. And I'm like, it would be a small group. We would be in my town. And it would be, you know, in like work. We would actually just work. And so that's what it is. You know, it's once a year. We just had our second one, which Mediavine sponsored. Thank you. And we also had another great sponsor in Comcast. So it was just like the perfect event. We have a total of 30 people every year. We do a hot seat session on the first day where people get the whole group listening to a challenge that they have and providing solutions. So it's only focused on one person. Every single person gets a turn. And then on the second day, it's work. And people are collaborating. They're figuring out, they're showing each other how to do things. And every person gets a conversation with either myself or Michelle or Amira. And it's awesome. It's really awesome. And it's perfect for the group. And so although our group is so big, this is another way to get to have a more intimate relationship with me and with the ladies of Courage to Earn.
Yeah, absolutely. So Marie Elaine wants to know, is Periscope still a good tool? Question.
It is. It absolutely is. Yeah. So again, with the, you know, trying to balance, I can't do everything, but sure, that would probably be the first thing I would add back in if I had 3 extra hours a day. Michelle Garrett Johnson, she does it still. She does Periscope and has not stopped and has seen great success. So whenever she launches something, a product, she can just go live and she'll make sales immediately. You know, so it's definitely still a thing. And it's not just for business folks. There's a lot of community over there for a lot of different things, pop culture, homemaking, all sorts of things.
There are people, so a couple of comments. Michelle said, oh, I remember those days. I think that was when we were talking about just throwing things out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jennifer Auer said, catching this late, sad face. I will watch from the beginning right after the sentence. Yeah, absolutely. Guys, come in. Feel free to jump in, jump out. It's on Facebook. And then when this is over, we'll be placing it on the Mediavine YouTube. So don't worry, it'll be there. Sure. Tanae said, it really was amazing. It shifted my thinking so much. I'm grateful I started paying attention and Courage to Earn. That's great.
Good. Yeah, Tanae made it to, Tanae did one of my numbers. You know, I always tell people how I, borrowed money for my first thing. And she said, I didn't really have the money to come to the Courage to Earn More retreat, but she worked it out and she came and she was she made such a huge contribution. And also just having new people who are kind of newer in the industry to give ideas that we haven't thought of, and to just to remind us like, yeah, I am excited about this.
Hey, yeah, that's pretty cool. And Michelle, I think I need to meet Michelle. Michelle's last quote was Periscope is bae.
Yeah, so she's Periscope.
She's mad crazy about Periscope. Okay, so talk to me a little bit about, you mentioned her selling products. Do you produce products and are you ever selling them inside the Courage to Earn group? I know that you obviously have talked about your retreat, but and beyond that.
Yeah, so I do have a few products, and it's interesting because you don't want to have, you can have a group just to sell to your folks, but that's not really serving them. But I do have a few products that do serve them and that have done really well for me. The first product that I had was a free ebook. It was a pitch ebook all about pitching brands. And it was a question that people asked me all the time. And so I was always giving that information. So I put it together in a book and it was free. And another friend told me, girl, if you don't put a price on that, Courageous Earner. And I was like, yeah, let me just put a price on it. So I put it was just a $5 ebook and people loved it and people were making money from it. And so I wrote a couple of follow-up books. So one book that's just pitch letters that I have used, how they've worked. And then another one about beyond the pitch. So I put them together in a bundle, sell them for $30. And I sell several every single day. Just, it's just a consistent thing. I promote them occasionally. But for the most part, if somebody is new to the group and they're going through it or they search for pitch, it'll come up, they'll find it. So that's really my signature product. The other products that I have, I did a necklace once. So that was my first foray into physical products that said Courage on it. And it was so cute. I didn't get a lot to sell. I just wanted to see what it felt like. And it felt okay. And I think that depending on the type of group that you have, physical products can actually be a great way for you to earn income. And to also build community, because I loved going to conferences and seeing people with their Courage necklaces on. And people would see other people with their necklaces and like, you're encouraged to earn? Oh, okay. They would know each other. And so those have been my biggest products. In addition to that is the Courage to Earn More group, which is still pretty new. Like this is its second year. It's really we just completed the first full year in its current form. And so its current form being super structured and having real specific guidelines for what it is that folks are going to achieve. Because before it was an idea that I was so fortunate that people, believed in me and jumped in and was like, I'm going to do this because it's you. And I was able to work through some kinks and get it to where it is, which is just a super sweet place. If people love Courage to Earn, they would die over Courage to Earn More. And then this year, adding the masterminds, the Rise Mastermind and the Lift Mastermind. So Rise is for influencers who are kind of at a higher level. So people who own businesses that bring in a lot of money or who are, at 6-figure plus mark. And then Lift is for women who are getting to that point. So they're women who are marginalized in one way or the other. So it may be they're marginalized because of race. And we know all about the income gap, the wage gap for women of color, or that they are single moms, or that they are single women and they are only one income. So, and Michelle and I are partners on that. So it's just, I'm always, and then I had a course, Come Through You, a writing course, helping people to find their through line. So I'm not big on creating a ton of products, but rather creating products that really are in line with what it is that I talk about regularly. Because people who know me know that there are some things for which I'm a broken record about, because I'm like, we need to hear this over and over again. Like, you need to hear how to set your rates. You need to hear that you don't have to accept the rate that someone else tells you. You need to hear how to negotiate, and that is expected in business. You need to hear that it's business, not personal. You need to hear that you need to focus in and find a niche and figure out who you are and what you are going to write about and what's important to you. So like things that I say all the time, that's what I create. That's what I create products for.
You're reinforcing what you're already saying. I love that.
Exactly.
So Dawn LaMontagne said, I bought it today. I'm completely new and hoping it'll help get me focused. I believe we're talking about the pitch book there.
Sure.
And then Marie Elaine said, Brandy, on ebooks, do you ever worry about people just sharing it with friends and family versus sending the link for them to purchase? Is this a good case for making it an affiliate link so they're more apt to share? That's one of her issues she worries about on creating digital products.
Yeah. So, I don't worry about it, because if they share the link with their family and friends, it must be, there's a reason. But what I think about is I can only control what I can control, and I can just control getting people to my link to buy. I can't control what they do afterwards, and I'm not even concerned about it, because, it's a $30 bundle. It's a $5 ebook. I don't really care, but definitely affiliates. So for my bundle, I think I have affiliates at $15. So at $30, I think affiliates they either get 50 or 40% or something like that. I can't remember, but it makes it worthwhile. I mean, the product is already created, and so it makes me money, even though I created it 2 years ago and I updated it, but I'm not doing anything on a regular to sell it. So if I can get people to bring half of that in, then that's awesome. So I definitely think no matter what you do, what kind of ebook you do or course, that you should have an affiliate program if it makes sense financially for you.
Absolutely. We are all about that here. We always talk about diversifying those income streams, and you're all about side hustles. Yeah. So can you talk a little bit? I heard you talk something about this with Flock, and I was really inspired by it. So talk a little bit about side hustles and how many you've got. You've got quite a few going. You've got some irons in the fire there.
Yes. So I have a ton of irons in the fire. So The way that I think about side hustles is it needs to be things that are not going to stress you out or cause you to falter at the things that you have to do. But you got to have multiple streams of income, because at any time, something could be pulled from out under you. Last year, I would say 50 to 60% of my income was sponsored posts. This year, my goal is for it to be maybe 25%. That goal that I set for myself at the beginning of the year, I've already almost met that for it to be 25% of what I expect to make. But outside of that, there's other things. There's affiliate income. This year, I have a very particular goal for what I want to make from ads. I just joined an ad network, Mediavine. So I put that on my list. I want to make this amount of money from ads, and so I'm focusing in on that. But when it comes to and I've done some marketing work for small businesses and things like that. So what I think about with side hustles is, how can I incorporate this into what I'm already doing? And sometimes it's not about incorporating it into what I'm doing work-wise. So a lot of times, like I said, with my full-time job, it's not a blogging job. It's not something that's related even to marketing. It uses a different part of my brain, which I'm so appreciative of. And it allows me to save my creativity for Courage to Earn and Mama Knows It All. And I'm using really an analytical part of my brain for this job, which is fantastic. So if you can find a side hustle that allows you to walk dogs and get exercise so that it's incorporated into your life, but it doesn't take away from what you're already doing. Or if it's, selling stuff on Poshmark or selling things on eBay, where you're going out and shopping anyway, and it's kind of a hobby, but it's also a side hustle, so you're incorporating it into your life, and it's not stressing you out or taking away from the things that you absolutely have to do.
Yeah, love that. Love that. Okay. So we're almost out of time. This has flown by. I can't believe it. This hour has gone like, woo. I looked up and it was 50. We've already been talking for over 50 minutes. So that's just crazy. Yeah. So I think that the last question I'm going to ask you, unless anyone else has a question for you, which I will defer to them, but I want to talk a little bit more about finding your tribe. And how important that is. And do you have different tribes for different aspects of your life? Or, you talked about your high school tribe, Courage to Earn as a tribe. So talk a little bit think about fostering your own tribe and finding them and what that means for you. Yeah. And then I will come back to you in 1 second. I'm going to make a couple quick announcements. So again, today, this is Teal Talk. I'm Jenny Guy with Mediavine. I'm their marketing manager. We provide full service ad management for content creators. We've got so many great things happening. Ads are only the beginning for what we provide. This has been, like I said, Teal Talk. I've had Brandy Riley from Courage to Earn and Mama Knows It All with me. She's been amazing. And on the 7th of March, we're not back until the 7th of March. We've got some traveling to do. I'm actually going to be at Dad 2.0 this weekend in San Antonio with some of my colleagues. And then next week, I will be at the Inspired Home Conference in Chicago, where I used to live. I'm breaking out the old coat to do that next week. And so I've got some traveling, but Mediavine is going to be all over the place in these coming months. And we'll let you know where we're going through the blog, through our Facebook group. If you're not a member of that, make sure that you hit us up and you can email us at publishers@mediavine.com, and we'll make sure you're in there because you get all the announcements and all the scoop there. But as I said, on March 7th, Teal Talk is back. I'm here with Matt Mullen, and we're talking about email jumpstart, talking about email marketing and how to really work that for you. So that's going to be our next Teal Talk. I'm very excited to have him on. All right, Brandy, final question. Thank you so much for being here, by the way. You're amazing. But please tell me about Tribe.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. This is probably my favorite question, because a lot of people ask this. They say, I don't have people. I'm an introvert. It's not hard for me to make friends. I think it's hard for me to maintain relationships sometimes, because I do appreciate having time to myself. But what I learned over the years about finding my people and building a tribe is that it doesn't have to be the same level, again, with levels, but it doesn't have to be the same level of friendship with everybody. The first thing that makes sense for me in terms of making friends is figure out what the other person needs. service. How can I serve them? How can I support them? How can I be a friend to them before I ask them to be a friend to me? So that has been helpful. I started out just looking out for other people, just seeing who they are, commenting, connecting in person and and online. It works both ways. That's the first thing. How can I be a friend to them? The second thing is really being intentional about who I want to be friends with. What kind of people am I interested in hanging around? These are the type of women that inspire me, and I would love to be a part of their crew. So I'm just going to start kind of hanging around the peripheral, and eventually they'll have to let me in. And it works, y'all. It works. Like if there are people that you are interested in being friends with, you just love their energy, you just think they're awesome and fantastic, think about how you can be a friend to them, and then just start being where they are. And just let them know, I want to be friends. Let's hang out. Send them a message, send them an email, start the conversation. That has been the biggest way that I've made friends and finding my tribe over the last few years. This year, my goal is really to start merging those folks, my high school people with my online people and all that, like just kind of bringing them together, because I'm realizing that it's the same, the type of support is the same. And then finally, I think it's keeping your expectations of people that you are in your tribe, keeping it realistic, like I have people who are in my tribe, who are my community, but I don't expect for them to know everything about me. I don't expect them to do everything that I need done for me. I don't expect them to be everything for me. So, before you can find a tribe, you really have to know like who you are and what's important to you, and be able to kind of manage your own feelings and your emotions and your business before you start kind of reaching out and wanting to hang out and be close to other people. So those are my tips. That's what's been working for me, and any time that I didn't. So there were times like when I first started, I was much younger, obviously 9 years younger than I am now, had never really done a lot of stuff online. So there were some mishaps for sure, some expectations that I put on people that, or expectations of what our friendship was, without realizing that, no, that's not what friendship actually is. Friendship is a two-way street. Friendship is give and take. Friendship is everybody's not always going to be happy. Sometimes you compromise, and sometimes you just say, hey, this doesn't work for either one of us. But being able to do that will help you to be able to create much stronger ties. So now the friendships that I have with folks who help me with my business, I know, I can say to them, hey, this is specifically what I need help with. This is specifically where I'm struggling. And this is specifically what I need you to say to me today. I don't want to be empowered. I want to whine and complain. And I want you to say that's okay. And I want to, talk trash. And I want you guys to back it up. Like you just have to, but it wasn't until I learned to be okay with having different emotions and different feelings, and being okay with not always being okay for myself, that I was able to be like honest and real, to be able to make real friendships.
And again, I just heard you do it again, talking intentionally, specifically saying, this is what I need. Yeah. Don't ask people to guess or try to have a shot in the dark about what, because nobody knows. You've got to tell them. Mm-hmm. So I love that.
Especially even your audience and your customers, with Courage to Earn, there have been times when I've said, if you've gotten anything from me, I need to know, I really need you guys to recommend me for campaigns, or recommend me for work, or recommend me for awards or whatever, because that's what that drives me. Like I am driven to help women, but I'm also driven by my personal goals, and that's okay, but how did they know that? They're saying, hey, I'm letting Brandy help me because that's what she wants to do. Until I was able to say, this is what I need. And then I was able to get so much back in return, and was just really eye-opening and a good reminder for me that, everybody has their own stuff going on.
Very true. I love that. That is great advice on finding your tribe, great advice on growing a Facebook group, fantastic on working with brands, all the things. You've been amazing, and I so appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me here today.
Thanks, Jenny. I appreciate you asking me.
It's been a blast. Okay, thank you everybody for joining us. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.